Hey, shalom, 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 everyone. Welcome to another episode of My Take with Rosh Ya'acob. On Wednesdays, we deal with questions and answers. Questions and answers. So this is Questions and Answers Wednesday. Y'all notice I try to have my banners a certain way. Each banner represents something. So today is Question and Answers Wednesday. We're going to delve into some good issues. There's stuff that I've been thinking about going through. So I thank you guys for being here with me. This young man that I have on a banner with me, I recently came across some videos where he is disputing a lot of different things from the Bible. And I see he got a good following. And I was like, okay. And he was asking questions and he felt like he had the answers. And I'm like, let's really look at this and see if he really got the answers. Now, based off of Christianity, he might have them. I was listening to what he's saying. He was going at the Christians. I was like, okay, yeah, I see where the Christians go with that. I can see how you going at the Christians. But he mentioned something about the Hebrew community, and I was like, nah, you're wrong. We got to get into this. One thing to understand it through Christianity and to come at the Christians is a whole other thing when you start getting in a Hebraic point of view. Because we don't look at nothing the way Christians look at it. So we gonna delve right into this. So I can't wait to get into this show tonight to deal with this issue right here. And I'm only gonna deal with a couple of his videos. He got a bunch of shorts where they're a little longer than shorts. And he got like two of them that I'm gonna deal with tonight. One I'm gonna deal extensively with, and that's the one dealing with the resurrection. And we're talking about the resurrection of the Rabbi. So we want to deal with that. And then after dealing with the resurrection of the Rabbi, and why he feels as though it's questionable. Which of course, we talk about somebody resurrecting. I can see why anybody would feel it's questionable. And then he has another one where he talks about how this guy uses different things that's around to try to support the existence of the Rabbi. And it's sort of like he's saying that it doesn't prove anything. So we're going to delve into these different things. I don't know how far we're going to get into the other one, but I definitely know we're going to get into this first one. So we're going to delve right into that one. So again, I appreciate all y'all for being on here with me. So let's get ready to get everything started. So if this is your first time to the channel, please subscribe. Please like, share, and subscribe, to the video. Subscribe. You see more content. I'm quite sure there's some things on this channel that you will like. So I will ask you to please subscribe to the channel. Okay? All right. And for those of you who might don't know who I am, might go, who is this telling me to subscribe to something? My name is Rosh Ya'acob ben Abraham. I am the rabbi at Gethsemane Spiritual Temple Congregation. And on this channel, we deal with everyday life situations and so forth. And each day is a different thing. So today I try to answer a lot of questions that people send me or that I might see. This one didn't get sent to me. It came across my news feed and I was like, who is this guy? And I was listening to it and I'm like, at first I was going to put it on a back burner because people sent me different things and I wanted to talk about those things. But I'm like, let me just talk about this now while it's on my mind. And then I can still ease back to the other things. Because I got thousands of videos, people. I got thousands of videos that people sent me to deal with a lot of stuff. Now, mind you, it ain't all questions and answers. Some is dealing with relationships. Some is dealing with police incidents and all that kind of stuff. I didn't do a police show in a while. So I know I got to do one of those. So, yeah, so that's basically what's going on. All right, so we're going to give a lift up to our sponsors, right? We got our one sponsor, which is SGG, Simply Gorgeous Glow. And again, I want to present this to you guys. This is a beard shampoo bar, and it has the ridges in it, and you would use it to go ahead and lather up that beard as you comb it. It has a nice fragrance to it. Let me let you know what's in it. It got shea butter, aloe vera, tea tree oil, jojoba oil, and rosemary and peppermint. And it smells great. Smells really, really great. And again, the main product that I always tell you about is the Royal Beard Butter. This is my joint. I use this all of the time. I'm trying to tell you, it is so excellent. The Royal Beard Butter. All right. So please, if you get a chance, check out our sister Linda. I got all her information below. Her store, her Instagram, her Facebook. She has things for young women as well. So if it's some sisters on here that might want natural products, she has natural products on here for the sisters as well. All the stuff is all natural. And I guarantee you're going to like it and you're going to want to do more business with her. So please support our sister Linda as she does big things for the community, and because she's supporting Torah knowledge. All the people that I'm talking about support Torah knowledge because they support the show, and the whole point of the show is to be able to bring Torah knowledge to you and the community. Also, brother Alex, he makes these nice shirts. This one on right here, you can't really see. And he sent forth a raven, and then it says Genesis 8:7, right? And awesome shirt. Really, really love all the things that Brother Alex is doing. And the name of his company is the Art of Clothing. The Art of Clothing. I got that information. I got the Art of Clothing information down below in the description as well. So all of it's down below in the description. So please check out our brother Alex. And there's one other thing that I want to bring to you all attention. And this is something that is really, really, it's sad. So before I do that, I just want to end up with showing our commercial for the Art of Clothing. And then I'll come back and deal with you with this issue. This is really a sad issue. And I'll explain it to you. All right, so with no further ado, here go our sponsor, the Art of Clothing. All right. Welcome back. Thank you for all our sponsors. Again, they sponsoring Torah knowledge. They doing what they got to do to make sure this Torah knowledge gets sent to you all. So please support them as well. All right. So now I have something else that I wanted to show you. It's a sad situation. A friend of the family daughter is dealing with cancer, and this hits heavy because we had cancer do different things in my family as well. So when I hear about cancer and those type of things, it's always detrimental. But I have on the description down below, I also have a link for this. And it says, help Darion find comfort and peace in our battle with cancer. Yeah, our young sister, 15 years old, is struggling with this, and it doesn't look good. You always know we say the Almighty got the last word. So we praying for the family. If there's anything you guys can do, or you guys can just share it on, any help will be much, much, much applauded. Again, this is a sad situation. Very sad. And I just wanted to help get the word out to as many people as I could, because I feel like this is a really important thing to discuss or to look at. So I'm bringing it to you, my Israelite family. Ani Yisrael, I'm Yisrael, my Aniya Yisrael family. Yeah. Oh boy. Okay, people. Enough sadness. There's just, yeah. Anyway, without further ado, we're going to jump right into this video. So this is our brother. We want to listen to our brother, and then we're going to go into some different things. Now, he has a video up top where it's going to be a guy talking, and then he's going to respond, and then we're going to respond, and that's how the show is going to go. All right, so if y'all got any questions as well, if it's questions y'all got about anything, put it in the comments, put it in the chat. We can talk about that next week as well. But without further ado, I want to definitely touch on this issue right here. So let's get into this and see what the brother's about to tell us. And this is brother Coach Renz. Coach Renz 33.
There's only one other option other than obviously that Christ rose from the dead. I would ascertain, and you can disagree if you feel free, it would be that his disciples, people who truly
I gotta point all this stuff out. This is what made me look at him, because I said, hold up. Watch what he does. He will hear the guy talking, and he's going to flash his shirt for a minute. I said, do he got on an Art of Clothing joint? Yeah, man, you only can flash the Art of Clothing, like, the Art of Clothing in the building, right? So I was thinking, do we got on the Art of Clothing joint? But that joint said lion ass. So he tried to call a man a liar. So let's get back to it. Watch this.
There's only one other option other than obviously that Christ rose from the dead. I would ascertain, and you can disagree if you feel free, it would be that his disciples, people who truly...
So he's called that man a lion, a liar. So I'm sorry, I just had to point that out, because I was like, look at this. This brother is funny. But anyway, let's get to it. He got a lot of stuff. I can see, between him and the other brothers, I can see, dealing with him and others, but this brother's funny. All right, let me go back.
There's only one other option other than obviously that Christ rose from the dead. I would ascertain, and you can disagree if you feel free, it would be that his disciples, people who truly loved him, stole his body and somehow disposed of it.
Well, it could have been somebody else who stole the body.
Okay, so they're dealing with the hypothetical, right? They're saying if the Rabbi didn't really resurrect, Then the disciples stole a body. Then the guy says, or somebody else stole the body. So that's the premise of what's going on. And we're going to see why that premise came about. So let's finish listening.
But what motivation would they have to steal the body and dispose of it?
Grave robbing was quite popular in that time.
Now, the guy said, or somebody else stole a body. He said, well, what would be the reason or motivation by somebody else stealing a body? If he didn't resurrect, then the disciples stole a body. That's what he's trying to say. I don't like dealing with hypotheticals a lot of time, but okay, we're going to delve into this, right? So if he didn't resurrect, which of course we believe that the Rabbi did resurrect, but our brother Coach Renz doesn't. And the guy who says, or somebody else stole a body doesn't, right? So they don't really believe. They're skeptics, right? I love skeptics. It's going to help give me a lot of content for Wednesday. Trust me, I got a lot of videos from skeptics. I said I'm just going to start going through, picking them off. All right. But, yeah. So I'm looking at this situation. You see the look at his eye. He already looking like, this is whack. And he don't agree with nothing that the guy's saying. And we going to go further. But, yeah. I'm sorry. I got the video in the description if y'all want to look at the whole short for yourself without me cutting in and giving my commentary. I got it in the description.
Guards,
around that area. Well, there are guards that are only reported in Matthew. And what does Matthew say about the guards? He's the only person that reports the guards. And what do the guards do? They say that Jesus has disappeared, and the high priest...
All right, so let's look at this. Because I want to look at this. Because, I you know me, I like to fact check everything. Because a lot of times people tell their version of the Bible. And when you fact check it, you see that they didn't even know what they was talking about. But if you just go by them just talking and you don't look at it for yourself, then you can run with anything. So I always check behind everybody. I don't care who it is. You telling me something, say something. If it's not something I'm familiar with, I'm like, let me see if you really know what you're talking about. So we about to go right now. I'm going to come in there and I'm going to go to the different verses dealing with the death, burial, and resurrection of the Rabbi. So now I'm going to go to Matthew's. So they say Matthew's is 1, right? So I'm going to go to Matthew's. And that should be the last chapter, 28, right? Now, and I actually look at this verse a lot because there's other things that I believe is going on here, but this is not about why I look at it, so I'm not going to get into other things that I be looking for because that's a topic of a whole other conversation that I didn't see a question for yet. So I'll wait till I see a question for that. Because this is Questions and Answer Wednesday. So let's see. So let me see if I can make this a little bigger. Is that right? Is that big enough? Okay. All right, let me move my man out the way. So that might be too big. Oh. That might be too big. I will let it down a little bit. Not a lot, but a little bit. All right, so let's get with it. Now, after the Sabbath day, as the first day of the week began to dawn, Mary from Magdala and the other Mary came to see the tomb. And behold, there was a great earthquake. For an angel of Adonai descended from heaven and came and rolled back the stone from the door and sat on it. His countenance was like lightning. His clothing was as white as snow, and the gods shook for fear of him and became like dead men. So in other words, it said the gods shook for fear of him, and they fell, and they collapsed on the ground as if they was dead. Now they didn't die, but they said they were like dead men. In other words, they fell, they fainted, right? They collapsed. Now, this happened with them. And then it says in verse 5, and the malach, or the angel, answered and said to the nashim, the women, do not be afraid, for I know that you seek Yahshua who was crucified. He's not here, for he is risen. As he said, come, see the place where the Rabbi lay, and go quickly and tell his Talmudim that he is risen from the dead. And indeed, he is going before you in Galilee. There you will see him. Behold, I have told you. Then it says, verse 8, so they went quickly out of the tomb with fear and great joy, and they ran to bring his Talmudim word. Right? So that's what happened in this one. Now, this is the part that they get to, where the soldiers was bribed, right? Because they going to go, they rejoicing, they going to go and so forth. We see that they actually had an encounter with the Mashiach. But now we want to go and get to this part. This is the part we want. This is the part of contention that they're talking about. Now, while they were going, behold, some of the guard came into the city and reported to the chief Kohanim all the things that had happened. And when they had assembled with the elders and consulted together, they gave a large sum of money to the soldiers, saying, tell them his Talmudim came at night and stole him away while we slept. And if this comes to the governor's ears, we will appease him and make you secure. So they took the money and did as they were instructed. And this saying is commonly reported among the Yehudim until this day. All right, so this is the part of contention, right? The part of contention is they're saying, well, hey, the guys are saying, hey, the guards was bribed. They took away the Rabbi's body. They was bribed, right? That's what they say. So now it's like, okay, well, they took away the Rabbi's body. They was bribed. Like, what's going on, right? This is what happened after that. So instead of, so now they said this is the only verse that talks about, the only thing that talk about guards and so forth. So now I want to check it with some other ones. So I'm going to, let me let y'all see what I'm going to do now. So what I like about Bible Hub is I can go and I can click on this and it'll open up other things that has to do with it. So let me see. And the guard shook. Now, they said there's only one that talk about armed guards. So let's see if any other ones say something about armed guards. All right, so Luke 2:24-5, right? Luke 24:5. Let's see what that's talking about. Again, the first day of the week. So we got that. It's first day of the week. So it's Sunday. But it's while it's still dark. Or it was very early. So it was while it was still dark. It was about the dawn. So forth. So it was as the first day of the week was coming in. So now on the first day of the week, very early in the morning, they and certain other women. So now they come in early in the morning, but he gonna already be gone. They and certain other women with them came to the tomb bringing spices, which they had prepared, but they found a stone rolled away from the tomb. Then they went in and did not find the body of the Rabbi Yahshua. And it happened, as they were greatly perplexed about this, behold, two men stood by them in shining garments. So now, this is somebody explaining what the women said they saw. Because remember, the women only the ones that saw this. And this is Lucas trying to recapture what the women said that they saw, right? So we see it's still the women going there, right? It was the women that went there. Wasn't no men. It was the women. And the women got there, this happened. So we getting people perception of what they got from the women. And everybody gonna say something different. Now, I want to go back to here, because I want to see the comparison again. So far they right. It don't say nothing about the guards. Let's go to Mark. All right, so Mark is talking about a young man. Okay, so Mark says, this is Mark chapter 16, verse 5. And entering the tomb, they saw a young man clothed in a long white robe sitting on the right side, and they were alarmed. So now, they see this young man, they alarmed. So let's see something. Let's go back to something else. So I'm going to go ahead. Because it's also something, because they said that it was a large rock, that they covered the tomb with this large rock. And from Matthias' story or perspective, he talks about the guards that was there. So we got to remember who Matthias was. Matthias was a government man. So he's thinking about the guards and the government. Everybody going to look at it in their own way. And that's one thing that we do notice with all the books. All the stuff within the books is that way. Nobody looks at the one thing completely the same way. Just like with people in general. We don't all look at stuff exactly the same way. I'll tell a story my way. Somebody else might listen and be like, I thought it happened like this. So they'll tell it their way. Somebody else will be like, well, I thought it happened like that. They'll tell it that way. None of us going to tell a story exactly the same way. But that's something that they're going to use in here as an argument. My counter to that is no one tells a story the exact same way. It was an episode of Good Times that did it very well. The episode where the couch had caught on fire. I don't know if y'all remember that episode of Good Times. It was an episode of Good Times where the couch caught on fire and they was trying to figure out how did the couch catch on fire. And everybody told their own version of the story. And for some reason, in that version of the story, everybody was the calm hero saying, calm down, I got it. And it was like everybody told a different story. They just took one person to wrap all them stories together to give you the full idea of what happened. Because each person's story was true in its own right, but then it wasn't, because they left different aspects out that they felt was not important to them. And that's what we got to take with this. That certain things they're going to bring up is not important to them, right? And everybody's bringing up different, right? But anyway, let's get back to this. So I want to go right to the thing because I want to see it. So, and all of them let us know is Mary. Look, now when the Shabbat was passed, so they let us know the Shabbat had ended. Mary Magdalene, or Mary of Magdala, and Mary, the mother of Ya'acob and Solomon. So we got, again, who came to the tomb? the women. So we got that part right. That they might come and anoint him. So we know they all came to the tomb in order to anoint him. So this gives you the idea that he was in a tomb. He wasn't anointed. They all came there to anoint him. Right? That's the one thing we see is all lined up together. Right? Then it says, very early in the morning on the first day of the week, they came to the tomb when the sun had risen. So now they coming when the sun has risen. So they come into the tomb and they said among themselves, who will roll away the stone from the door? Roll away the stone from the door of the tomb for us. So it was something blocking the door, right? So I think we seen that in the other one as well, right? So let me see if we seen that as well. Who will roll away the stone from the door? So we're going to see some context, see if everybody else said that. So there was a great earthquake and rolled away the stone. So it was a stone. Rolled away the stone. It was a stone. The stone. It was a stone. So everybody's saying it was a stone. I just want us to be on the same footing with all of this. We're going to see certain details was different, and these guys are going to speculate because one person told the story slightly different. And I'm thinking, so you speculating because one person's told, well, everybody does that. I could be talking with my wife right now, and I can tell a story one way, and she'll tell it a whole other way, and it's not going to sound exactly the same. Now, certain things are going to sound the same, but some things aren't. And you're going to be like, well, dang, I thought this happened and that happened, right? So certain things are going to sound the same, but some things aren't. I just want us to get that underway because the brother and I'm just going to try to make a big deal about this issue. And I want us to really be able to look at it before they make this big deal. So I want us to know what is different. So far, they're right. It doesn't seem like anybody else has talked about these guards except Micaiah. Now, again, why would Micaiah talk about the guards? Remember, Micaiah was a tax collector. He worked with the government. So he thinks differently. So he's thinking about guards. He's thinking about all these different things, right? The other people could care less about that. They're focusing on everything. Each writer focuses on what he is trying to tell his audience, what he feels is most important. That's how it's done, right? We just got to get that understanding. Because if we just listen to how these guys, and I'm going to let you hear how they saying it so you can see why I'm going through this. Because if we just listen to how they saying it, then they'll have you thinking all kind of things. So I'm like, no, we're not going to look at it how they saying it. We're going to look at it for what it says. That's what we're going to look at. We're not going to look at how they saying it. We're going to look at how they saying it, but we need the whole context. That's what you need when you're in conversation with people that's trying to trip you up. You need the whole context, right? So let's get to this. So we know it's the first day of the week. We know the stone was rolled away from the door. We know somebody spoke to the women, whether it was one young man or two young men, and they perceived it to be angels, but they looked like young men, right? So we know all that happened. We know they said, come in and look and see. And they came in and looked and seen that he was gone. So we know all that happens, right? So that's what we want to know. We want to know the consistency, because that's the stuff that we know happened. We know this happened. We know that. We know this happened. Now this thing about stealing a body away and all this other stuff, that's what's of contention, right? That's what we debating. But I just want to lay all that out, and I'm probably gonna come back to it. But I just want to lay all that out because I feel like it's important to note that stuff, because these guys are going to be trying to tell us something completely different. All right, so I'm going to rewind it back a little more. You probably like, man, you was only in it. We didn't even get past 30 seconds yet. Yes, we going, because I want us to delve into this, because the brother going to be saying some things, and I want us to delve into this. So here we go. Let's delve into it.
That are only reported in Matthew. And what does Matthew say about the guards? He's the only person that reports the guards. And what do the guards do? They say that Jesus has disappeared, and the high priests pay the guards to tell people that the body's been stolen. Now, what does Matthew say? He says...
All right, so, again, Micaiah focuses on it. Everybody focuses on different things. Micaiah was a publican. He was a tax collector. That's how they thought. He's thinking about government procedures. He's thinking in this fashion, this way, as far as administration, so forth, so on. So he's trying to give you this reasonable view, right? Other people are going to focus on spiritual things here and there. Other people are going to focus on the love that Kepha and them had for him, because they're going to show Kepha and them running back, where other ones don't even talk about Kepha and them running back at all, right? So everybody focusing on what they focusing on. But we want to make a big deal about this because we can use this to twist it to make it mean what we want it to mean. Watch how they twist it. Watch this.
And this is a rumor that they went and spread that persists to this day. So the author of Matthew knew that there were people who were saying that somebody stole the body, and intentionally puts these guards there, has this story of the high...
Now, he said the author of Matthew knew that somebody would say they stole a body, so he puts that in a story that the guards was there to make sure they wouldn't steal the body. Right? But what about the other books? So they want you to focus on Matthew and his story being different. But again, all the books saying something different. One book said it was angels. One book said it was a young man. One book said she comes in and she don't see anybody. And she just like the bodyguard, and she come out and she sees somebody she thinks is the gardener, but it's the Mashiach. All the different versions tell different things. So why are we going to focus on Micaiah's version and try to use it to twist it and this, that, and the other? Get out of here. All I'm going to say something different. But I'm going to let them go.
High priest paying them off to spread this rumor in order to combat that rumor. So we know that people...
So he says is a rumor. Let me hear this again. I'm sorry.
Guards to tell people that the body's been stolen. Now, what does Matthew say? He says, and this is a rumor that they went and spread that persists to this day. So the author of Matthew knew that there were people who were saying that somebody stole the body.
Now, that was not what was going on. See how he put that slight twist in there? The author of Matthew says that the rabbis, that the priests of those days remembered that the Mashiach was saying he was going to resurrect. When did he say he was going to resurrect? See how they want you to not put that part in there? They want you to say the Mashiach, the Rabbi said he was going to resurrect. In all the different books he says, tear down this building in 3 days, I'm going to raise it up. Right? And they say he was talking about his body resurrecting. He had a lot of different passages within different things, especially in the book of Micaiah, where he talks about resurrecting. So the Sanhedrin guys didn't believe that he was going to resurrect. Their whole thing was that what if his Talmudim steal him because he been telling everybody he going to resurrect? What if they actually steal him? Right? They steal him. And then they say he resurrected. There was only one problem with that. Even though he told the Talmudim he was going to resurrect, they didn't believe him. They didn't believe him. He said, I'm going to resurrect. They didn't believe him. But the people said, well, what if they come back and try to take the body and claim he resurrected like he said he was going to do? So they didn't do it because it was a rumor that they was going to steal the body. So let's just make up this rumor that they stole the body because they are. No, the word was he's going to resurrect. So let's stop. Let's fight against this idea of him resurrecting. So he that slight twist in how you say, that's why I say you gotta look at the scriptures, right? So y'all might say, well, hold up, I ain't see that in the scripture where it says that, right? Okay, you ain't see that in the scripture where it says that. Well, let's go back to Matthew's. All right, so I'm gonna put it on a New King James. Let me let y'all see what I'm looking at. Let's go back. Let's go back to when he put the men on there. Look at what happens. All right. Can't cross. He does. He gets buried. All right, so the body gets buried. They wrap it up. We see all the stuff that happens. All this, again, happens in all the different versions, right? But watch this part. On the next day, which followed the day of preparation. So you had the day of preparation, which was for the high holy day, because this was on Pesach. So the day of preparation is Pesach day, and it's the following day after that. It says the chief priests and the Pharisees gathered together to Pilate. So now they came to Pilate, saying, Sir, we remember while he was still alive, how the deceiver said, after 3 days I will rise, right? So this is where the guards came from. The guards didn't come because, hey, we know people gonna steal a body, so let's say the guards and say this, that, and none. The guards came about because the Rabbi said, after 3 days I will rise. That's why the guards came about. So he says, therefore command the tomb to be made secure until the third day, lest the disciples come by night and steal him away. That's what they were saying. So it wasn't people going to say somebody stole him away. Now, let's go back to the guy, because I want y'all to see what the guy said. Because the guy said something about him being stolen away. Let's see what this guy's saying.
Pay the guards to tell people that the body's been stolen. Now, what does Matthew say? He says, and this is a rumor that they went and spread that persists to this day. So the author of Matthew knew that there were people who were saying that somebody stole the body.
So he's saying the author of Matthews knew that people were saying somebody stole a body. So that's why they said, oh, let's pay them to say that, oh yeah, let's put that part in there, right, about this, that, or other. That's what he's saying. But in essence, the guards was there not because of that. They said that it wasn't about stealing a body. It's because the Rabbi said in 3 days he was going to resurrect. So that's why they had him there for those 3 days. So by the time that third day came, they went ahead of guards there guarding it because they didn't want the third day to come. And the disciples came and he wasn't there. But there was only one problem. The Talmudim didn't believe it neither, because they actually going to be on the road talking to him and not know who he is. And going to be saying, woe is me, he died. You don't know, a great man died. And that's how they going to end it. They wasn't going back and saying, hey, it's the third day. Let's go back and see if he resurrected. That wasn't what they did.
And intentionally puts these guards there, has this story of the...
See? And the brother face looking like, huh? What you mean? Intentionally? Because he done changed the narrative. He took one thing out, which was the reason why the guards was there, because because he was teaching that he was going to resurrect, which is throughout the book. It's throughout the book that he was teaching this. So this is fundamental. So we say he a deceiver. We don't trust his disciples neither. So if he going around telling people going to resurrect after 3 days, and the disciples want you to believe in him, and we saying he a deceiver, what's going to stop them from taking his body out in 3 days? So we need some guards there, armed guards, to make sure that nobody can steal his body away.
high priest paying them off to spread this rumor in order to combat that rumor. So we know that people in the early church, before the writing of the Gospel of Matthew,
were under the impression
thought that the body was stolen. There's even
Now, it says people that was in the early church thought that the body was stolen. Okay, I ain't a part of the church. I could care less what the church believe. Sorry. Y'all can roll with them church fathers. Oh, y'all, the church father. No. The sages, yeah, I roll with the sages all day long. These guys, that's the church fathers, the Christian, the Catholics, no, I'm not rolling with them. Sorry. So so all the stuff he about to say, they said, is irrelevant to me, because they don't even understand what they reading anyway. And they missed the whole purpose, because the purpose wasn't about the resurrection, even though the resurrection was beauty. The purpose was about him dying. That was the purpose, him dying.
Tertullian talks about, this is amazing, Tertullian talks about a theory that some people were spreading, that the gardener had stolen the body of Jesus.
All right, so Tertullian said that about the gardener stealing a body. You know why Tertullian said that? Whoever Tertullian is, I don't know who a Tertullian is, but you know why Tertullian said that? Let's find out why Tertullian said that. You're going to trip when you find out why Tertullian said this. Now, let's find out why Tertullian said this. Let's go. I want y'all to see why Tertullian said, "Oh, the guards XYZ." Let's go. Let's go. I gotta go to Mark. Now I'm looking at verse chapter 16. Look at what it says. They went and told them, the disciples didn't believe. This is proof about them not believing. Look what it says in Matthew 16:13. And they went and told it to the rest, but they did not believe him either. After that, he appeared in another form to two of them as they went to the country. So he appeared to them, but they went and told, and they didn't believe him neither, because they didn't believe and then he believed it. Even with this about the unbelief. Later he appeared to the 11 at the table side, and he rebuked their unbelief and hardness of heart, right? So he was upset. Why you guys don't believe, right? But let me go. I'm gonna try to go back to 15. So I want us to see something. All right, so we say got buried. Yeah. So I'm trying go to trying to show y'all something. All right. I'm sorry about the dead air, everyone. I'm trying to find about the gardener so I can show y'all why Tatelio, Tatali, Totalu, Toodaloo, Toodaloo, whatever his name is. Wow. Well, he said something about a gardener. I think that was in John. Right? I think it's in John. And it's 19. Maybe it's 20. Empty tomb, Kepha, man. All right, so this is the one where they came to the Talmud. I hate when I'm searching for something and I can't seem to find it. Oh, that is so. Hey, shalom, Yosef, shalom, Mikie. Good to see you in the building, Mikie. Trying to tackle down this question. Brother is pointing out one thing within the text to try to tear down the argument of the Rabbi. They trying to say that his body was stolen away by the disciples. Or no, this brother saying that that they just made the whole story up. So I'm like, okay. But since we try to use the text for that, let's go back. So I'm delving into all of it. Let me go. It's one of them that talks about this gardener. Hold on. Oh man, all this time I thought y'all could see what I was showing you. That's crazy too. I just realized y'all can't see what I'm looking at. Let me look this thing about this gardener. I'm sitting there thinking y'all see what I'm saying and seeing the strife I'm going through to find it. No, that's not it. Here we go. It was in John. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sitting there searching all the time, and it is in John. So let me let y'all see what I'm looking at, because all this time y'all was just seeing me go on and on talking, and y'all could not see what I was looking at. All right, and I apologize for that. All right, so let's go back to John, right? So we'll go to John and chapter 20. And I believe they said it was right here. Oh, that's because I didn't finish reading it. Oh, thank you. All right, watch this. Now, all the stuff line up. Again, I want y'all to notice this. All the stuff line up. It was a big rock at the entrance because they didn't want them to be able to just get into the entrance. So it was a big rock in the entrance, blocking the entrance. That's the body of the Mashiach was in there, but then they all came and looked in the tomb and they seen the body was gone. Different accounts got different people talking to them, telling them that he's not there. Got them telling the Talmudina, the disciples, that he's not there and they don't believe him. It's always the women that came, and it's Mary Magdalene is the main one that comes. So she's always Mary Magdalene and others that come, which is a very important reason why we'll learn one day. If I discuss it, I could tell y'all why that is. And then this is the one. They said, Telio said, oh, maybe the gardener stole a body away. And it's like, okay, so we're not going to believe Matthias' story about the guards being bribed to say somebody stole a body away, but we're going to believe Telio's understanding of Yachanan's story, where the woman asks, Mary Magdalene asks who she thought was the gardener, did he steal a body? Look at this. Look at verse 11. But Mary stood outside the tomb weeping. And as she wept, she stooped down and looked into the tomb. And she saw two angels in white sitting on the head, sitting one at the head and one at the feet where the body had lain. Then they said to her, woman, why are you weeping? So now she says this happened. They say, woman, why are you weeping? She said to them, because they take it away my rabbis, or she says my Baal, or my masters. That term also has another term to it. And I don't know where they laid them. So she don't even know these as angels. We find out in other accounts they say angels. In this account they tell us it's angels, but she don't know it's angels. So all the accounts sort of always got these two people, these individuals talking, and it just say some men, they got shiny clothes on, and nobody knows who these men are with these shiny clothes on. Nobody's questioning, say, hey, men with shiny clothes on, what are y'all doing right? Just see two men with shiny clothes on. All the accounts is lining up with all of this. Then we get to this part. It says, verse 14, now when she had said this, she turned around and saw Yahshua standing there and did not know that it was Yahshua. So she turned around, she sees somebody that looks like there's a man. She knows a man. She sees him standing there. He knows she is, but she don't know who he is because he does not look the same. It says, Yahshua said to her, woman, why are you weeping? Whom are you seeking? So the men that was in there that was angels, she didn't know they was angels. They said, who you seeking? Why are you weeping? She said, why she was weeping, who she seeking? Now she's standing there talking to the man himself, and he says, why are you weeping? And look what it says. She supposing him to be the gardener. So she supposed that he was the gardener, and said to him, sir, if you carried him away, tell me where you laid him, and I will take him away. Right? This came from Yachanan's version of the book. So my question is, how are we going to question Matthias' version, but we can support Yachanan's version? And in that version, it only introduces thing about the gardener, but we see that the gardener is the Mashiach himself. And she just didn't know who it was. But she thought it was a gardener. Now watch this. Let's go back to his account. Because that's what I wanted to show you, how this guy was saying this. And I'm like, where is he going? Let's go back to his account. right? And I see, and y'all see I was right, because I said I probably wasn't going to be able to to get into all of it, and I wasn't. We not even finished with this part yet. All right, so let's get back into this.
Because he didn't want people to come and spoil his. Tertullian talks about, this is amazing, Tertullian talks about a theory that some people were spreading, that the gardener had stolen the body of Jesus because...
See? So Tertullian came up with this idea of a gardener. Where did Tertullian, whoever that dude is, because I don't know nothing about the church fathers, I don't pay them dudes no attention. So whoever that dude is, Tertullian, he says, oh, the gardener stole the body away, right? And he says it's so amazing. I'm thinking, how's it amazing? You try and discredit Matthias' story, which makes more sense if you believe that the Rabbi was resurrected. Matthias' story make way more sense than saying the gardener hid the body away. But let's keep going.
He didn't want people to come and spoil his lettuces when they came to see him as a shrine.
That was corny. But anyway, now our brother's about to dig into this, and this is where we're going to get our meat for it. So now our brother is going to come up. He's going to say what he has to say.
You know, the resurrection story of Jesus has always been an interesting one, and it's one of the things that helped me to deconstruct from the Bible, especially when you, as we did in a previous live, go over all the aspects of the resurrection, where there are vast difference between the different stories of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And this was one that was pointed out as far as how Matthew was the only one that reports that guards were on duty at that time frame. Now, you would think that that should have been one of the consistencies within the four.
Now, again, as I said earlier, everybody's going to tell the story from the aspect of what they feel is important about the story. Matthias, being a publican and a tax collector, he felt this idea about the guards was important. He's the same one that tells us about how they came with armed forces to get the Rabbi in the first place. He tells us about that account, how they came to the garden with armed soldiers to get the Rabbi, right? So he tells us that account. I don't think the other accounts even go into them being armed like that. Lucas might touch on it. I'm not sure, right? I can't remember offhand. But everybody tells different aspects of the story their own way. The main thing that all of them agree with was it was a tomb. It was a stone in front of the tomb. The body was in there. Mary Magdalene came with other sisters. They got there, the body was gone. They looked in the tomb, the body was gone. And then they began to see him. So the point to say that, oh, why is Matthew's only pointing this out? Okay, Matthias is the only one pointing that out, but guess what? Yachanan the only one pointing out something about a gardener. Only Yachanan pointing out about a gardener. Nobody else, no other story says something about this gardener. But when you understand that Yachanan is an esoteric book and you get into the different aspects, and you understand why he brings up this thing about a gardener. And she thought he was a gardener. How he says, touch not my body because I have not yet ascended. So you can see all that then. All right, let's keep going.
4 stories, because having guards at the tomb would kind of ensure that there was levels of protection that even the Romans believed that this story could be true, or at least the Romans wanted to guard against the story becoming somewhat of a true story, so that they would not create this martyrdom of Jesus, if that was the case, that he was just this real person, real itinerant preacher that they feared would be resurrected and then create a movement.
Now, that's the thing. The movement was already created. The movement was already created. It wasn't predicated on that's Christian predicates it on a resurrection, right? The movement was already predicated because the Mashiach said that he was going to come and die. That was it. He was living for the Torah and dying in the Torah. You see what I'm saying? So when we look at it from a Christian point of view, he might have a good argument, but looking at it from a Hebraic point of view, that's not the basis of the story for us, because the Mashiach came to show us how to keep the Torah. Not came just so he can die. That wasn't the whole purpose. That was the ultimate goal. That's the ultimate thing that happened at the end, right? But the main thing was to teach us how to keep Torah. Christians don't care about that. They don't even understand or grasp that. But Israelites know that it's about the Torah. It's about doing what the Almighty said to do. Because that's why we in the predicament in the first place, because we wasn't doing what he said to do. So him just coming and dying, that's on that Christian tip where they said Hove did that so you won't have to go through that. No, it don't work like that. That's not what it's about.
Unless the actual story writer wanted the story to happen this way. Unless the ones who were creating this story was creating a story to change the Hebrew Israelite religion.
Now, and again, if you follow Christendom the way Christendom is, then yeah, you got a point. It changed the religion, right? But if you following the teachings of the Rabbi and what he's saying, he's telling you keep the Torah. He's pro-Torah all day long. He tell you keep the Torah, focus on the Torah. He's about you changing your inner way, because that's the problem. Can't keep saving you from the outside and you still the same on the inside, because you're going to just keep doing the same thing over and over and over. So you got to change on the outside. We got to change your outside excuse me, I say your outside. Your inside. You got to change on your inside. We got to change your inside to match your outside.
Because when we read and gain an understanding of Vespasian's goal was to shut down the Jewish revolt, as people were looking for this earthly warrior who would free Judea from the rule of the Palestinians.
Now, the whole thing with Vespasian, right, and understanding Vespasian, well, let's first look at the time period for Vespasian. So let's look at the time period. That was something I wanted to get into too, because he brought up Vespasian, and I'm like, okay, well, let's look at the time period for Vespasian, right? What's the time period? Vespasian. All right, so Vespasian. Let's look at Vespasian. Vespasian came about. Well, he is the one who came and first attempted to conquer Israel or Jerusalem. Remember, I think he came in 66 AD. So he came in 66 AD. I believe he came in 66 AD. Let's see if I'm right. They got 66 to 67, right? So he came there, right? According to historical accounts, he came there for some reason when they encompassed the cities, right? We seen abomination of desolation standing in the holy place. And we see in the book of Luke, it tells us that that means, let's look at what it said it means in the book of Luke. I believe it was 21. Talk about the abomination of desolation. Look at this. So Luke tells us what that abomination of desolation means. Luke says, when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, then know that desolation is near. And let those in Judea flee to the mountains, right? So the Mashiach is telling you how to escape this destruction that's coming. This destruction that was coming was Vespasian. He was the one coming in to conquer, right? The people fled. It went to different parts of Africa, of northeast and northwest Africa. It went to different parts of that, especially if you read the book from Babylon to Timbuktu, you'll see how they spread all over the place, right? But watch what happens. What happened in history is, especially for some reason, they said he heard armies in the hills. He thought that the Israelites hired the Egyptians, and he fled. Now, when he fled, they gave the people that remember the teaching of the Mashiach, they gave them the chance to flee. But now what happened after that? After they fled, and some of the zealots attacked the guys as they was running away and really damaged the army, Titus came back in 70 ED with a vengeance. And Titus was terrible, terrible, terrible what he did to the ancestors. Titus was a terrible dude for what he did to the ancestors, right? But this all was fulfilled to fulfill what the Mashiach taught. But now again, this is going against what he was saying, because the Rabbi didn't even interact with Vespasian. The only one main ruler that he interacted with from the Romans was Pilate, not Vespasian. That happened when they came to the city. That happened some 30 years later. 33 years later to be exact. Was it, well, I say 66. Yeah, that was like 33 years later. All right, so let's do this. I know I'm running out of time, but I want to be thorough with this one. I don't want to just gloss over it. I want to be thorough. You want to see why, because you want to see why I just want to be thorough.
Rule of the Romans, which has always been the job of the Jewish Messiah.
Now, the job of the Mashiach was not to overthrow the Romans. That wasn't the job of the Mashiach. Now, that's what some of them wanted. They wanted him to come in. That's what the argument was as to why Judah of the man from Kiryat, or Judah-ish Kiryat, right? That was one of the main reasons why they said he did what he did, because they said he belonged to the Zealots and he was trying to force the Mashiach's hand and make him fight. So they said that's what was going on with that whole situation of betrayal. It wasn't betrayal because he really wanted to betray him. He thought if he forced his hand and he knew that it was the Mashiach, it would force him to fight. But he didn't realize that wasn't going to happen. So here we got that whole situation that's happening. So this thing he's saying about Vespasians and doesn't make sense. But let's keep going.
Hasmonean dynasty happened at first. Initially, they thought that this possibly was the Messiah with the.
All right, so the Hasmonean dynasty that you're speaking of, that dynasty came apart because that was brothers standing tall on Torah, even in the midst of tyrants, even in the midst of wars that seemingly they shouldn't have won, but yet they did win because they stood on Torah and the Almighty blessed them to win. But they didn't look and say, okay, is one of them is going to be the Mashiach. They wasn't looking at them for that aspect.
The Maccabees, the Maccabean family, but then once they were conquered by the Romans, the realization is that they were not.
Yeah, but some people might have felt that way, but that wasn't an overall view that, the Maccabees is this, that, other. They was just some brothers that was fighting hard against the tyranny and against the oppression that was being placed upon us by the Egyptians. I mean, I said Egyptians, the Romans, right? So that's what that was. That wasn't even the Romans. I'm getting all confused. The Greeks, right? The Greeks with Antiochus Epiphanes was attacking Israel. They was doing all kind of vicious stuff. Read the book of Maccabees. They was doing all kind of vicious things to Israel. And that's what that was about. So it wasn't about, they gonna be the Messiah. That wasn't what that was about. It didn't have nothing to do with, they gonna be the Messiah.
The Jewish Messiah.
No,
so when Vespasian came into the picture, his job was to shut down all the Jewish revolts. So is it not feasible that when this story was created, it was simply created to create a passive version of Judaism and not the warrior fighting against the Roman government society type of Judaism to which Rome had been facing since.
Now, that argument will be good and well if Judaism bought into the Brit Kadashah. But all of us know that Judaism did not buy into the Brit Kadashah. They was not trying to listen to anything about the Rabbi. Did not believe him. They said, he was a good guy. They got stuff in the Talmud where they talk about this person. They says the Rabbi, and they say very disparaging things in different passages, which once people really dug into it, they said it wasn't talking about him, but they said it was sort of close, and they said maybe this is talking about him. But they was not looking at it like, oh man, maybe we should believe this. The people that bought into this passiveness that you talked about and this, that, other, was the Goyim or the Gentiles that came in later and took the Rabbi and took Judaism out of it. When you read and study the Brit Kadashah with the mindset that this is a book telling you about keeping Torah and trying to give you different aspects of how you can keep the Torah, when you look at it from that viewpoint, it is no separation. It is no this was taken out and now there's no fighting. No, it's not that. Right? The only way you get that, you got to take the Mashiach out of context. That means you take them out of the Torah and put them in some new element where you can create all these kind of stories around him. But when you understand that the Brit Kadashah was dealing with the Rabbi and him trying to teach you to come back to the Torah, then that changes everything. But if you're looking at it like this is a new religion, then yeah. But even within that, them doing this to try to squash the rift between the Israelites and the others is really a waste of time, because many of the other people did not believe and the Rabbi in the first place. They ain't believe.
Since the first century BCE, first and second century BCE, actually. So would it not make more sense for them to create a story where the Jesus does rise, that Jesus is gone, that people start believing in this Jesus who told them to render unto Caesar what is Caesar, start believing in this Jesus.
All right, now, you bringing up the render unto Caesar what is Caesar because you try and throw out there like, oh, you being passive, so forth, so on. It ain't had nothing to do with being passive. His whole thing was they was trying to set him up to be arrested for speaking against Caesar. They had publicans and the rabbis went down there with the publicans because the Pharisees sent them down there. They said, ask him about taxes. So the moment he speak against taxes, we got the publicans right here to arrest him. So he knew what was going on, and that's why he answered that in the way he did. And they was like, wow, you know, he didn't say, don't do it. Now, if the coins would have had Hebraic stuff on there, then he probably would have like, wait a minute, this is our stuff. He not gonna say give the treasures from the temple to Caesar because we paying taxes with it. That ain't the case, right? So using that to try to say, oh, he was passive. Look, he said this. No, you going too far with that one, right? It was cool how he tried to throw it out there, but no. Watch how he tried to throw it out there. Because he tried to make it like, oh, he was just a government plant. He was a tool that was used by the government. That ain't true. I'm going to keep it going.
Society type of Judaism to which Rome had been facing since the first century BCE.
Now, I know to us, we view the battle with Rome, we view it as this big strategic thing. But to the Romans themselves, it was something that might have been getting on their nerves, but it was more or less like, no. And we see what they did. They squashed it. They didn't just come up with a story. They squashed it. It was no story to come up with. Oh, let's come up with this story so they can... No. They came in and they squashed it. Because when they seen Israelites who was keeping the Torah, right? When they say the Israelites keeping the Torah, well, let me go back. Let me regather my thoughts. When you look at the whole situation, right? And let me do this like this. I had to go back and gather my thoughts, right? When we look at the whole situation as a whole, right? He's painting this picture as if the Mashiach was a tool. We see the Mashiach teaching them to keep the Torah. Now, he didn't teach them to just give in and just do this, that, and the other. Even when he said that about the coin, the whole idea behind it about the coin was being used by Caesar. So he looks at the coin and you see his inscriptions on it. So he said, okay, yeah, get us back to him. But the things that belong to the Almighty get to the Almighty. So if it was riches and coins that belong to the Almighty, he said, no, that belongs to the Almighty. But this stuff right here that they gave us, they want it back, give it back to him. Right? Why put yourself in jeopardy to get locked up? So he's teaching them how to deal with life in exile. But again, to the point that I was making, Titus and them didn't wait to some book to be able to have a book to come out to this, that, and other. right? Titus and them squashed the rebellion in 70 AD. So the rebellion got squashed in 70 AD. So it was no, I got to come up with this book because no, the rebellion was done at that point. A lot of things happened. We seen Josephus become a traitor at that point. It was all kind of things happen. So I just want us to focus on that and know that, because he's painting this picture as if, oh, these things came about and this happened, that happened.
Version of Judaism, and not the warrior fighting against the Roman government society type of Judaism to which Rome had been facing since the 1st century BCE, 1st and 2nd century BCE, actually. So would it not make more sense for them to create a story where the Jesus does rise, that Jesus is gone, that people start believing?
No, it doesn't make sense. Because that's not what's going to make them believe. That's what make the Goyim and the Gentiles, oh, he resurrected. No, what's going to make them was the best thing for them was this man died standing on business. This man died standing on nothing else but that he taught you to keep the Torah. He was trying to work on your inside. That's why he died. He was a righteous one. He was tzedek. And the death of the righteous brings salvation. So it's not about the resurrection. The resurrection is good too. Even when the Mashiach is talking about it, he don't tell him, remember my resurrection. He says, remember that I died. So the resurrection is important for some. But when you really understand the text, the resurrection wasn't even what the Mashiach wanted you to remember. You might say, okay, that's what you said. How you got proof of that? Well, I'm going to show you what the Mashiach says to remember. I'm going to let you see what the Mashiach says to remember. Right? All right, so right here. Let me click it up. All right, so look at this. Verse 26. So let's see what it says. Look at what Apostle Shaul says. That he says, oh, this is what he says, right? And when he given thanks, he broke it, said, take, eat, this is my body, which is broken for you. Do this in remembrance of me, right? He wants you to remember his body being broken. In the same manner, he also took the cup and the supper. The cup is the renewed covenant in my blood. This do ye as often as you drink it in remembrance of me. Now, it's nowhere in the text where he says, remember me for resurrecting. He don't say, remember me for resurrecting. He don't say, oh, it's all about my resurrection. That's what's most important. When he says, remember, he says, remember that I died. Remember that I died fighting for you. That's what I want you to remember. I died fighting for you. This is what it's about. I died fighting for you. Now watch this.
Believing in this Jesus who told them to render unto Caesar what is Caesar. Start believing in this.
All right, so again, render unto Caesar what is Caesar was not telling you to be passive and weak as he's trying to imply. Keep it going.
Jesus that teaches through Paul that whatever government is placed over you is the government that God desired for you.
Now, that's not what he was saying. Again, see how we taking this stuff out of context? He wasn't saying, oh, this government is who the Almighty desired for you, right? The whole premise was to show you how to survive in exile. That's it. How to survive. So it wasn't saying, oh, yeah, you just accept that government because there's no, I ain't say you do that. I ain't say you do that. It ain't say be a part of the government. We ain't supposed to be a part of the government. That's why I said we sit there trying to be a part of this government. I'm like, that's not what we're supposed to be doing. We got our own government. I'm not supposed to be fighting to be a part of this government. What are you guys doing? Right? And that's how I looked at that. That's how I viewed it. Like, hold up, something is wrong. Why are we focusing on being a part of this government? That ain't what he told us to do. But again, people misunderstand the writings, and that's what they say, right? Let's see what else he's going to say.
So the gentleman who was questioning was saying that, hey, there was only two choices here, that there was someone who stole the body or that Jesus actually rose.
All right. So that's what the one gentleman was saying. The other guy disputed against him, and he's leaning with the other guy.
But no, there's more than just those options. You see, that's how some people, when they're in a debate, they want to corner you and limit your options as to what you can speak about. But yes, you can talk about the fact that he did rise, or you can talk about the fact that somebody came and stole the body. But yet we have this story in Matthew where the guards were falling, they fell asleep, and the rock was moved, and the angel was there, and the angel was sitting on the rock.
Now again, it didn't say the guards fell asleep. It said when the angel came in an earthquake and they seen him, that they fell like dead men. So they fell before them. They passed out. So it wasn't that they was like, oh, I'm so damn tired, and they went to sleep. That's not what happened. That's not what the scripture says. Let's keep it going. I want to try to get through this one, and I'll deal with his next one, his other one next Wednesday. And deal with this one.
Rock, but in the other stories, the angel wasn't there, and the angel was sitting inside. Another one that was.
And what I'm saying, everybody tells a story differently. One tells about a gardener. Nobody else tells about a gardener, but Yachanan tells about a gardener.
Was two angels, and then the other one, the angel was at the head, and the one was at the foot, and the other one, they two of them just standing there. There's an earthquake in Matthew that removes the rock. In the other stories, the rock is just moved. So there's all types of differences in this story.
All right, and that's the thing. Everybody telling their own account of what happened is going to be differences in the story.
And the only consistency is that Mary Magdalene was there.
Nope, that's not the only consistency. So that's why I went through that whole spiel. I know it was boring to y'all. They're like, why are you going through this whole spiel? Every story, it was a rock covering the tomb. The body was in the tomb. Mary Magdalene and other sisters came there. They came inside the tomb and seen that the body was missing. They talked to some individuals, whether it was one person, two verses, where they talked to the individuals and they just thought it was regular people. They did not know that that they was angelic beings. The scripture tells us that he was angelic beings, but the people did not know. They just thought it was regular people. So it was more than just Mary Magdalene was the only thing they had in common. So we got to get that out. He had a lot of things in common other than Mary Magdalene.
And that supposedly this Jesus rose. That's it. Those are the only consistencies within the two stories.
He said, and supposedly, no, all the stories also say that. So let's keep going.
And for most Christians, the fact that he rose is the only consistency that they need.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's how most people are. I get you, but yeah, Christians are like that. Let's keep going.
But like anything, if there are conflicts within the story, then the whole thing becomes wiped out.
And that's not true. Again, remember I gave y'all the idea from the thing where I'm gonna say good times. Yeah, good times. Where the couch caught on fire. Everybody told their own version of what happened. It was only certain specifics, just like in this account, these accounts where stuff matched up. Every other was different. The same way, I could have been right at an incident and seen it. I'm going to tell it my way. Somebody else going to tell it their way. That's why you had witnesses. That's why in the witnesses, what the lawyer does is the stuff that he know is consistent. He try to at least get all of them to agree on the stuff that are consistent, because that's his way of trying to show that something did take place and this took place. That's how the evidence works. All right, let me let him go.
There, it opens the door for other options. One of those options is grave robbers. Another option, though, is that the resurrection story is just completely made up.
All right, so let's listen to his options again.
Wiped out. There, it opens the door for other options.
All right, so he says open the door for other options. So one option is the resurrection really happened. The other option is the Talmud stole the body. Now let me hear his options.
One of those options is grave robbers.
So now he's saying grave robbers. Why? They didn't, it wasn't like Egypt. Grave robbers stuff happened in Egypt because the Egyptians buried you with great riches. The Mashiach wasn't buried with great riches. So why would they rob the grave of him?
Another option, though, is that the resurrection story is just completely made up in order to facilitate a new religion that is passive towards the Roman government.
It's hard because, again, in order for me to believe that, I would have to say that all of Judaism was flocking to this information and saying, yeah, we believe this. No. And Judaism teaches the same things that Apostle Shaul says as far as respecting the government and the people that got authority over you. Same thing.
That allows the Roman government to still be in charge of the people on an earthly plane, while the people fantasize about deliverance on a heavenly plane.
It sound good, but all the people not believing, so I can't roll with it. If all the people flocked with it, then I can say, you know what, he got it. He got a point. But because I know all the people don't, and all the people is not rocking with it, then I can't say he got a point.
So that the people who are being oppressed and the people who are suffering will be perfectly fine within their suffering. That they'll look at their suffering as the will of God. That they'll look at their suffering as, this is how we make ourselves better.
He's projecting a lot.
For the kingdom of God. That through suffering, we become more angelic. Oh, the first will be last, and the last will be first. The rich man goes to Abaddon, while the poor man goes to Abraham's bosom. So you crafted and created a story that manipulates oppressive people into accepting.
Now again, all of Judaism didn't accept this, so that's what makes this a weak argument that we building on. The majority of Christian that accepted and ran with that narrative that you're talking about was not black. It was not Israelites, right? So we gotta keep that in mind. All of them didn't accept it. So to say that it was used as propaganda to control who? Can't say to control the Israelites. You trying to paint the picture of control, but they didn't believe in his writings anyway. And by the time that they actually, because at first, let's keep it 100. The stories at first was oral. In other words, you just heard it and it was transmitted by word of mouth. Somebody from his school decided we're gonna write this down. This is what the brother hinted on. Now, as they're writing this stuff down, right, and putting it together, something happens. He's talked about it being used to stop the Israelites, but the Israelites wasn't believing in it, especially by that time. They definitely wasn't believing in it, and they was in exile. They wasn't believing or hearing none of that.
And loving their oppression and loving their oppressors.
Now, again, man, I can't see what you're saying. Okay, hold on, let me see. I thought I had it. There we go. This man trying to convince people with his devil doctrine. Oh, you ain't seen that yet. Wait till you see the one for next week. That's why I took the time, Mikie, to really go through the scriptures. I said, because the brother so smooth the way he said, if you don't really check them scriptures behind him, you just gonna flow with it. You can be like, oh man, this brother making sense. So I'm like, nah, this brother not making sense. This brother not making sense. He making an argument. He trying to say this, that. I'm like, wait till you see the one for next week. You really gonna trip off of that, Mikie. You can be like, what in the world is going on here? But nah, this brother not making no sense. I can't roll with him with that. Right? Because the idea with it is he tries to say, oh, it's just a whole made up story in the first place to control people. Right? That's his main premise that he's coming from. But again, because our ancestors as a whole didn't accept it, you can't say that they use it as a whole to control our ancestors, because our ancestors as a whole did not accept this. They did not believe in the Rabbi as a whole. So it didn't work. And during that time when they actually wrote the stuff down, you know, and said, because around that time was the time when people started writing things down, just like with the Talmud or the oral law. The oral law was transmitted by mouth. It wasn't written down. But around 200 AD, they decided we got to write this stuff down because we're going to go in exile and lose everything. Let's write this down. So our ancestors wrote this down. Yes, Ashkenazim and others are running around with it now, but it was our people that put that together. This thing that he's saying, they passing this around by word of mouth. But now if it was meant to control the people, a lot of the people wasn't even buying into this. It's an account about an oven, and it's a very popular rabbi, and we're going to get into that one day. And the whole thing seemed to be about an oven, but it's really that they took a book, one of the books of the renewed covenant from this very prominent rabbi, and threw it in his oven and burnt it. And then they said the oven was unclean. And the whole story goes where he's debating against them, trying to prove that just because they burnt their book up in the oven, it didn't make the oven unclean, right? And it's a whole litany of things that go through that. But what this brother is saying is off, because the majority of the people wasn't rolling that way anyway. But I'm gonna let him finish out and then we're going to close up for the night.
In order for them to obtain a hereafter that is filled with love and joy and peace, and there is no pain, there is no sickness, there is no war, there is nothing but joy, 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 joy. While those who oppressed you, although they gained the whole world, they lost their soul in the fiery pit. Is it possible that the other option is that the story was just created as a government tool to continue to oppress people, not only physically, but to oppress them emotionally and mentally?
I would say no. Because if that was the case, it failed miserably, because it didn't stop. It didn't stop the rebels. And once you really understand a Brit Kadashah and understand that it's a book to promote you standing your ground as Israel, to promote you standing your ground as a Hebrew, once you understand that that's what the book is saying, this argument becomes moot. This argument can be won if one is sold out to Christendom. Then yeah, you probably can get them with this. But Israel, no.
Most Christians won't think that way. They don't like to think that way, because thinking that way means that they can change their situation here on earth and not have to wait for heaven above. What do you guys think? And always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.
There's only one other option.
All right, so that's our video for the night. We see the brother, he tried to give his spill on it as far as being a tool used by the government to keep you under control. And as we saw, that's definitely not the case. Went kind of lengthy tonight, but I really wanted to go over the scriptures and really get us to look at stuff, because as you see yourself, Aki, the brother is very smooth. You gotta watch what he said, because he can use that philosophy to get you. So I wanted us to see the text so we can see exactly what's being said and what's going on. So with that being said and done, we're going to have our Artist of the Week. And this is a young Hebrew brother that goes by the name of Nobigdyl. And this is his song, Go With the Ghost, talking about going with the Ruach HaKodesh. And I want you guys to check that out as we close out. So I'm going to play our Artist of the Week, Nobigdyl. And this artist was recommended to me by my brother Catriel. Moray Catriel sent this to me, said, check this out, Aki. And I was like, wow, that song is nice. So I'm going to let y'all check it out.
Sediment, I'm irrelevant. I seek Helen and I reach heaven, cause Christ, he settled it. Might be celibate, married. All of that stuff got shut like Barry. Now my wife in therapy, I be fair. Need price we share when we fight for purity. All sincerity, scary, yeah. He been burning incense since 9 a.m. Alkaline water with the vitamins. Still he got a war raging inside of him. Lit the sage, but the pain won't go away. Came to my defense despite my infamy. Then I had to sit with my iniquity. Foolish girl that always looks so glittery. To really glow, you gotta give it to the ghost. Where could I go? Left me out in the cold. Open the door. I had to go with the goals. 2016 lost all my friends, consequence of all my sin. Morning pride and lies and lust and fighting, cussing, fighting, tussing. 2018 lost all my friends.
Yes. That's our artist of the week, Nobigdyl. I got all his stuff in the description. So please check that brother out. And again, I thank all of y'all. I want to give a special shout out to my brother Yosef for being in the building tonight. Shalom to you, Aki. And Layla Tov, to you and to others, Layla Tov, which means good night. And I will see you all tomorrow as we have our Rules of Engagement Thursday, where we deal with relationships. All right, so I will talk to y'all all then. Shalom. Shema Yisrael.